Well, we all love kiwis, don't we? And I don't mean the fruit. I mean the people that come from New Zealand, because I've got one today. He's called Jonathan Cave, and he's a proud Kiwi, a wannabe All Black, who's settled for being a lawyer until he discovered he was a creative entrepreneur. Now, during his career as a lawyer in Switzerland, he looked after some of the wealthiest people on the planet, but now runs a business called MyPhi, which is short for My Philosophy, which is aimed at helping individuals, families, and corporate teams find clarity and become extraordinary. And he's married with 2 children and lives here in Geneva in Switzerland. Let's have a listen to Jonathan Cave. This is the Expat Business Hero podcast, and I'm your host, Alex Congdon. Hey, Jonathan. Great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Great to be here, Alex.
All right, Jonathan. So you call yourself a Kiwi, although you were born here in Switzerland, or grew up here. So I just need to test this out a little bit because, before we get started. So I did a bit of research and I found a few silly things that Kiwis say. I got 5 of them. So I need to test them out with you to see, what they mean. Can you work with me this, Jonathan? All right. So
absolutely.
All right. You need to translate what these words or these phrases mean. And
I'm proving my Kiwiness to the world. That's fine. Go for it.
All right. First one. Sweet as.
That means everything's good. Sweet as, mate. Sweet as.
Yeah. How would they use it? Like, what would you say?
Basically anything. Like if someone says something good to you or bad to you, you just go sweet as. It's an acknowledgement, basically.
Right, okay.
And it goes with the no worries. Okay. Sweet as, no worries. Whatever you're going to tell me, I'm going to say sweet as back. Okay. That's basically what it is.
Good. Pass the first one. Next one. Not even.
Not even. But that's not even a question. I mean, I've never heard that one before.
Do you want me to give you what they say? They say not even means no, but not a simple no. It's more, an indignant emphasis of how untrue something is. So you like Justin Bieber? Not even.
Not even. I think that's been taken from the Aussie book, not the Kiwi book. I've never heard that ever.
Hey, it was on the internet.
Country, Alex. We're New Zealand. We're the cool country next to the desert, which is Australia.
It was on the internet. It must have been true. Okay, next one. Yeah, nah. Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, nah.
Shall I give you a clue? I'm wondering about you now. So Kiwis aren't very decisive people, as you know. So yeah, nah seems to mean kind of. You sort of say it when you agree with someone, but also you don't agree with them. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Is this written by an Australian?
It was written by a Brit who was traveling around New Zealand.
Okay, well, that explains it, actually. Yeah. Did he stay one day in New Zealand? And did he talk to sheep? I mean, you got to talk to the people there, Alex.
Right, next one. Good on you, mate.
Good on you, mate means, hey, you're a good guy. I'm happy to be with you, and it's probably the biggest compliment you'll ever get from me. We're not, it's all about ribbing and, teasing. So good on you, mate, is pretty much the highest ranking you can get.
Okay. Good. Final one. She'll be right.
She'll be right. Now, this is a bit dangerous in this day and age. She'll be right. But actually it means, there's a problem, but she'll be right. We're going to solve this. It's going to resolve itself. I don't know why it's the she'll be right. That might need to change to it'll be right because, yeah.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah. So, I mean, that's exactly what it means. Kiwis don't sweat about the little things and lead generally happier lives for it, and this sort of embodies that little phrase. So, good. 3 out of 5, I guess.
Keep my passport?
3 out of 5. I guess you are. Okay, we'll give it to you, Jonathan. So.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it.
All right, listen, let's just jump straight in then. Before we talk about how you got here, I just want you to tell us about your business today. So who you help and how you help them.
Okay, so my business is called My Philosophy, or MyPhi for short. And I help individuals, families, and corporate teams become more extraordinary than they ever thought possible.
And I pick
because whenever go for it.
No, go. No, I just it's just that I picked up this phrase that you use, a happiness gap. I mean, what is a happiness gap? And should I be worried if I've got one?
You should if you've got a gap. So the happiness gap is the gap between how you live and who you are. So the idea is the bigger the gap between how you live and who you are, the more stress, the more tension, the more potential for unhappiness. Because imagine you're living over here to my very left, but who you are is over here to my very right, then there's this disconnect going on. Okay? And the aim is to close that happiness gap, to align what you do on a daily basis in your daily routine with who you are. And if you think of things in your life which you do well, which come easily, and which you're good at, it's things that correspond to your values and the deepest parts of who you are. So the idea is to help people realign how they live, which is their daily life, with who they are, so that they can lead happier, more empowered, successful lives, where success is not defined just by money or what life looks like, but it's how you feel, which is so important.
Okay, so you say you help work with individuals and teams, and so how do you actually help them in this area? You explain a little bit, perhaps your approach, your method.
It's about gaining clarity. I ask people simple questions to start with to see where they are on the clarity journey. Can you describe what happiness looks like, your vision of happiness? Can you tell me what your core values are or your deepest aspirations? For a team, I ask them, are you happy with your performance? Do you feel you have a purpose in your job? And are you feeling you're unleashing your potential? So there's different wording depending on whether I'm talking to individuals for themselves or people in their work environment, okay, so that it matches. But the point is to create your own philosophy, whether you're a person or you're a team. So my philosophy is the idea that everybody should create their own philosophy of life. Too long have people abdicated the power they have over their lives and are reacting to things rather than being proactive and thinking about what's important to them and then manifesting it in the world they live in. So it's about taking the power back, empowering yourself, and doing it in a structured way where you create your own philosophy of life, where you come out with what's important to you, how you're going to get there, what are the values driving you, and what's the big picture in terms of where do you want to get to happiness-wise, financially-wise, business-wise, family-wise, and everything.
I mean, how important is this notion of finding clarity? Is this something that you see a lot of people struggling with, that they're not clear?
Absolutely. In the first 2-3 questions, I have a sense whether people have, one, asked themselves some of the important questions of life, like, am I living my purpose? Do I know what my purpose is? Am I truly happy in what I'm doing and where I am and where I'm going? And you quickly get the sense of whether people have thought about these things or not. Now, some people have aligned themselves automatically. They don't necessarily need to go through a process of creating their own philosophy. So some people tell me, and some teams say, yeah, we've got our systems going. This is how I resolve my issues. This is how I feel I'm getting to where I'm going. That's great. That's fantastic. A lot of people, however, a lot of teams, a lot of families don't do it naturally. There's this tension and this disconnect, and they don't quite know how to solve it. And so what I say is I come in and say, well, let's start with clarity. And let me give you an example. A lot of people chase happiness and meaning and purpose. These are big buzzwords at the moment. What I'm saying is that when you gain clarity over, for instance, who you are, where you're going, how you're going to get there, you'll find that happiness, meaning, and purpose tend to come to you and not the other way around. So clarity is being clear with different aspects of your life that you can apply on a daily basis and just seem to sort of break out of the fog. I have this image of especially in Geneva where I live, we're between two two mountains, the Jura and the Salève, and sometimes there's a cloud mass that just gets stuck between the two. And we're underneath this cloud and it's foggy, even in our thinking and our mindset and heartset. And the idea of gaining clarity and creating your own philosophy is to raise your periscope through the cloud, up above it, where the sun always shines, basically, and where you have this 360-degree view that allows you to be confident, decisive, to know where you're going and who you are. And that is an amazing feeling. And when people gain this clarity, which then leads to their version of happiness and purpose and meaning, you just see them flower before your very eyes. And I want to spend the rest of my life doing that because it's such an incredible experience shared with the person or the family, the team in front of me.
I mean, one of the things that I've taken to appreciate recently is the mantra around, you get clarity when you take action on things. In other words, it's not a theoretical process being clear in terms of designing some theoretical purpose in life. You get it by moving forward in life and taking action. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with your thinking, or is that the opposite of what you're thinking?
No, I think you need to have both, meaning you need to have a clear idea of what you want to do and where you want to go. And a lot of people come to me and say, "Oh, what do you do, Jonathan?" And I say, "You're asking me the right question." I say, "What about who I want to be first, and then what I want to do as myself," you see? Which gets people thinking. They don't get their standard answer. And so it kind of, you're straight into deep dive into sort of a bit more meaningful conversations. But yes, having clarity of certain things, I think, is very important. It gives you reference points. It gives you pillars to stand on so that you can make decisions on the bases of things which align with your vision of life. Yet at the same time, we know that life is just so uncertain, changes all the time, and a plan you had today might not be the plan you have tomorrow. So it's about reconciling clarity in yourself so that actually you can be more adaptable and change easily in an environment you don't control, which is the real world. Have I answered your question?
I think you did. That was a very good answer. Now, it's interesting.
Sweet ass.
Sweet ass.
She'll be right.
Now, this is quite an amazing topic to tackle. Where did it come from? Something has inspired you along the way to want to create this business and go for it. What was it?
Yeah. Cut a long story short, I was a lawyer in Geneva looking after high-end multimillionaires and billionaires. I'd done 7 years of law at university, nearly 14 years of practice, and I was taking care, it was a great privilege to take care of some of the wealthiest people on the planet. And I realized that despite having a very good income, good status, excellent prospects, I wasn't happy inside. And I was offered the chance to become a partner of this law firm, with eventually becoming the leading partner. And I had a choice to make whether to carry on along this route, which I'd been on for 20 years and which I'd be on for the next, let's say, 25 years, or to do something else. And I asked myself a very simple question. Will I be happy staying on the course I'm on now? Am I living my purpose? And over about 6 to 9 months, I thought about it. I created a collective mind of people who didn't necessarily get on with each other. Ironically, the result of these pasta and wine evenings was that I brought the family back together, people who didn't really speak to each other, where the only rule was, John, don't tell me what I should do. Don't project yourself on me in terms of whether I should stay or go. And we had these massive brainstorming and heart-storming sessions, as I like to call them. And by the end of these 6 to 9 months, it was perfectly clear that I was not in the right place. I was not doing what I loved. And I knew that I needed to leave, despite probably society saying, but you've got the greatest opportunity in the world, you've worked for this, etc. But if you're not feeling how it looks, I mean, that's a terrible pain to live with. And I see it all around me. A lot of people do struggle with that in the sense that they're on a road, they want to change, and, it's just easier to stay where you are. Now, it is easier from a lot of perspectives, but inside you cannot lie to yourself. You can lie to the whole world, we can put on masks, but never to yourself. And I just didn't want to lie to myself anymore, so I quit. Everybody was very surprised, including my partners, saying, "What do you mean? We're offering you a chance to take over." I said, "I'm sorry, this is not for me." And the next question was, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I haven't got the faintest idea, but I know I don't want to do what I've been doing for the last 13 years. And this shocked them. I think they said, "You're crazy. You don't know what's next." And I have never been clearer in my life, despite having the biggest uncertainty you can imagine. To illustrate it, I had a piece of paper in front of me, which was blank. Alex, when in your life did you have a piece of paper in front of you that was blank, that you could draw on, that you can paint on, that you could, squiggle up into an airplane and throw? And I saw this as an opportunity to align how I live with who I am. Coming back to the happiness gap we talked about in the beginning, I said to myself, life is too short to have a huge happiness gap, which I'm aware of and which I'm not working to close. I will have so many regrets later on. And you know what happens when you trust yourself and you believe in yourself completely? Suddenly you start writing, drawing, poetry, prose on this piece of paper, and it fills up so quickly with things that have been inside you, dying to get out probably for so many years, that your life takes a path and becomes an experience which you didn't even imagine existed when you were in potentially your golden cage before. Are you with me? Still with me?
So far, we're with you. We're with you.
And so what happened there is what happened here is I just started writing. Days, nights. I went to Asia with my family. I stayed on. I was inspired in Thailand by people around me. Everybody was smiling despite poverty. And I was going, wow, these people don't have anything yet. They're smiling. They're joyous. And I created my own philosophy of life. That's where it started, to answer your question. I created my own philosophy of life in what turned out to be 10 steps. So the Cartesian lawyer in me was still around. And by creating my philosophy in these 10 steps, it so transformed my life, my mindset, my heart set, and gave me so much clarity that I thought, wow, if this can work on me, maybe this can work on other people, on individuals, on families, on corporate teams. And 2 years on, that's exactly what's happened, is that I haven't invented anything new under the sun. I've maybe just packaged it and structured it in a way that is simple, that people get, just like the happiness gap, you kind of get it pretty quickly, and go through a simple process towards clarity, whatever that means to you. Not what it means to me or someone else or society, but what it means to you. I'll stop talking now. I think I've talked a lot. I'm hearing my own voice, Alex. I want to hear you.
Well, it's very fascinating, because what happened then is you effectively went from working for others into I'm going to be an entrepreneur, which was the kind of consequence of your decision of wanting to help people. So that was a huge change as well. It must have been for you. The idea that now you are solely responsible for projecting your new message out, and you're going to have to rely upon your own creativity and emerging business knowledge to do that.
Totally. And I've got some good learnings for your audience here, because I became an entrepreneur believing that my 13 to 14 years experience looking after some of the wealthiest entrepreneurs on the planet and being closely involved in their professional, business, and private lives would have given me insights that would translate into me being a fantastic entrepreneur right off the bat. How wrong was I? You don't go from a mindset of, well, a lawyer's it's not totally an employee, but you know what I mean? It's kind of the employee mindset to an entrepreneur like that. And you said a word which totally resonates to me, which is creativity. I was in a situation where I had resources And all I wanted to do was be creative. I wanted to do videos. I wanted to write articles. I wanted to express what had been locked up inside me, just like probably many of your listeners, want to, finally have the shackles broken and bring their stuff to the world because it's going to change the world. And so I ran off for a year into creativity and totally forgot about the emphasis on needing to make money. So I quickly got caught by going, I've created the most wonderful thing in the world, but I haven't tested it on people. I don't know whether they want it. And ended up going, my bank account's going down and I don't see where the revenue's coming. And suddenly you get into panic mode, which I'm sure, maybe a lot of people can resonate on this. It's part of the process, but it catches up on you so quickly. And I think the key learning is that I lost so much time in the transition from, let's say, employee to entrepreneur. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're up against yourself in a sense. You're no longer answerable to anybody. So you've got to get out of bed every morning. Otherwise, you're not going to even get close to earning any money. That's number one. And number two, it's a race against time. Unless you've got unlimited resources and you can call on money left, right, and center, which buys you that time, most of us have a budget. You've got to start making money with the packet with your starting kind of investment. And that runs away so quickly on you. So if I had a piece of advice is that the creativity is so fun. You wake up in the morning and you've got 8 hours in front of you where you can be creative. But if you're not taking care of the sales side, then you're quickly caught.
So the commercial side of the business was a big learning, big struggle. Any other struggles on the way?
Yeah, a couple of struggles from a structural perspective. So how I structured MyPhi was to get partners who had competences that I didn't have, in the digital marketing space, in the business administration space, in the training space, things like that. So I created a group of people saying, this is the project. I'm not going to pay you as salaried employees because I don't have the resources, but I'm willing to give you some shares, okay, which can be worth a lot or nothing depending on how this turns out. And so the expectation from my side was that I would have as invested, as purpose-driven people working part-time on this project, helping it move forward. And I didn't clarify enough the fact of whether these investors were kind of passive investors where you put money in and then you just wait for a return and give some favors, or whether you're kind of an employee but you're paid in shares. And this, by not making that clear, I quickly got caught out in terms of misalignment of expectations between me and the partners, which created a tension, which meant that the energy levels were focused on not offending each other rather than creating value and taking the business forward. So that was a huge learning for me. And after a year, I changed the shareholding structure, had very heart-to-heart conversations with everybody, which were fine actually, because it took a load off everybody's shoulders. I think that's one of the key learnings as an entrepreneur is that if you're feeling tension, then probably the person you're feeling tension about or with is probably also feeling that tension. And having heart-to-heart conversations where you put things on the table always end up being positive because the person opposite respects and is able to say what they feel. And either you continue together on the journey or you separate, but on a really good basis rather than big separations, which then seem to be failures on both sides.
So it hasn't tainted your view of getting partners in to support you on your project. You still believe that's the right way to go?
I still believe that's the right way to go, but just to make it crystal clear, coming back to clarity, as I'm applying it to myself, I'm not the world expert on clarity, but by having these experiences, actually, it just deepens my understanding of clarity to help other people and their search for clarity.
So beyond the partners, I mean, other forms of support that you reached out for? Anything come to mind that was helpful on the way?
Yeah, I I think I'm going to turn that question another way. I didn't reach out to support in terms of my digital marketing. I thought I could do that myself. Just go on. So I created an online course of videos and audios and thought that I just needed to do a couple of webinars, buy a few Facebook ads, and that people would come in the hundreds, love what I was saying, buy my $147 course, and, I'd be able to earn money while I was at the beach, sort of thinking about the next thing. And boy, did I get that wrong. So I think, you go into things, you really need to step. It was a great learning, by the way. I'm glad it happened that way. And I've learned so much. And I think this is the whole key of being an entrepreneur, is making sure you learn from those mistakes and don't repeat them. But not asking for support in areas where you need to be honest with yourself to say, I have no idea how the digital marketing space works. I don't know Google Ads from Facebook, Google Words from Facebook, and now there's new ways. You got to get expertise in. 1, to save you money, 2, to save you time, and 3, to give your business a better chance of succeeding. So I was closed 2 years ago. Now I'm totally open to going and finding experts that can help you, because you cannot do it on your own. Whatever you're going to try and do, it won't work on your own. Steve Jobs didn't do it on his own. Warren Buffett didn't do it on his own. Anyone else you can refer to who's your business hero never did it on their own. They get all the kudos and they're in front of the cameras and things like that. But you can bet your bottom dollar that there's a great team behind them, and often a great woman if it's a man, or a great man if it's a woman that you look up to. So I don't know whether you'd agree on me with
Absolutely.
that, Alex?
I mean, it's a theme that we pick up on with all our guests about their relationship with getting support, getting mentorship. I think the biggest worry for a lot of people, as you said before, it was time. I mean, money's important because you're going to run out of budget pretty quick, but losing months and years in the wilderness can really sap your energy to carry on with your project. So getting other people's advice and help is fundamental.
Totally. Totally.
So looking then about some of the key learnings, I mean, you've already given 1 or 2. Is there anything else that you would pass on to others who in this transition? It's a very important transition from employee to entrepreneur. Any other key learnings that you'd want to share?
Yeah, get a mentor as soon as possible. I think someone who's been there and done that and done the transition can really help you. Not someone who's going to tell you what to do, but someone you can bounce ideas off, get different perspectives from, which I do regularly now. I go in search of people, invite them out to lunch, just to have conversations and try and get nuggets of information and give nuggets, because it's always an exchange. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, you don't have to be at a desk at 8 o'clock and then leave at 6, and there are people monitoring that. So the quicker you get disciplined on saying, right, well, I'm going to still do 8 to 10 hours a day work, rather than going and cleaning the car, cutting the lawn, having a nap, and then end up doing 3 hours of work a day. There's no shortcut to success in entrepreneurship. It still requires a hell of a lot of hard work, and probably even more work than you did as an employee, where you could potentially, depending on your job, walk out at 6, monitor your BlackBerry, days of BlackBerry, but monitor your email, but then switch off and go and play tennis and family and things like that. When you're an entrepreneur, you never switch off. You can't afford to switch off. So what I'd say is, bear in mind that it's not an employee mindset of 8 till 6. It's 24 hours a day. I get a lot of my great ideas in the middle of the night, so I have a pad and pen, and my wife is used to me getting up and going and writing ideas, because that's when they come, so take them. And make sure you get into a very disciplined routine, because a lot of people will think that you have time because you're an entrepreneur, you're your own boss, so hey, you can play golf or let's have a coffee and things like that, but which can be great. But beware that your work day doesn't go down to 3 hours a day, because you're not going to make it on 3 hours.
Very good advice. Very good advice. A lot of people will resonate with that. And if those are about to take the jump, they should take heed. So looking at the head then, Jonathan, what plans have you got for MyPhi? Where do you want to take this business? Yourself personally, how do you want to grow?
So this is, in terms of myself, I do what I love. So I work, but I'm totally aligned with what I'm doing. So it's a magical experience. So I'm hoping to carry on this track of gaining clarity myself and how to help others gain clarity towards objectives that each person, family, or corporate team has. That's number one. Spreading positivity, processes to help people get to where they want to go, helping people accept who they are. Each one of us is unique. There's never been anyone like you, Alex. There'll never be another Alex again in the world, ever, with your DNA, with your character, with your experience. And as I speak to you here, I can't stop thinking that you are an extraordinary human being and you have so much to give. And it's about helping people, you or anyone else, to bring out that extraordinary which is in us. We all feel it. We all feel this massive power inside us. Well, hopefully you felt it, but if you have, that is the extraordinary in you wanting to get out. So help it get out, because that then translates into an extraordinary life and extraordinary love and passion and potential that translates to your friends, to your family, to your kids, to your colleagues. And when it's a win-win situation, why not go for it? And to answer your second question about where MyPhi is going to be in 5 to 10 years, and this could be useful for your listeners, is that I believe that the future is that you're either a platform or you're on someone else's platform. Okay? So Google is a platform. We all use Google. Amazon is a platform for buying and selling. We all use Amazon. I see MyPhi as being a platform where people can come and get the MyPhi approach of closing the happiness gap, but also get different tools and toolkits based on nutrition, on body, on spirituality, on general wellness, on high performance, a whole kind of area where MyPhi means I'm bringing my philosophy to life in all the different aspects of my world. Okay, so I'm hoping it'll grow bigger than just me and what I bring to the table, but it can connect and bring together like-minded, like-valued people wanting to help individuals, families, and corporate teams in the future. And yeah, that's how I see it. And you know what? I can see it. I have clarity on that. And as I look at you, I can see the different services offered. I can see all the success stories where people are saying, MyPhi has changed my life, or MyPhi has helped me, gain clarity in terms of my business or my family or my relationships, or helping me bring up my kids. And just for it to be a positive place where people come and can improve themselves, improve others, improve teams. And I've already started doing that. I do a weekly 1-minute video to help you think outside of the box. I answer questions like, why is your best friend your best friend? Alex, why is your best friend your best friend? Have you thought about it recently?
I have not. My goodness me, what a profound question.
Yeah, why is your best friend your best friend? How do you keep your energy levels high? When you're swaying between yes and no, always go for the yes. This is opportunity in front of you. And things like that. How to gain clarity. So this is the creativity, the clarity that I'm trying to get out in 1-minute videos, which I'm hoping will be a lot bigger in the MyPhi business in the future.
And I think with all that enthusiasm and passion, everyone, I think, is hoping that you do take this beyond Switzerland and further out. So I'm sure, as part of your plan, is to roll this out geographically as well.
Absolutely. I'm very privileged to be in a position to be speaking to Google New York about integrating MyPhi in their leadership program. With WTO, I spoke to them the other day and gave a presentation at the end of their wellness conference. I was in Slovenia, with the leadership guru, talking about MyPhi and sort of how to bring out, your true authentic self in leadership positions and in helping people be themselves, whether it's team members, family members, or others. So I've already got a totally global vision. And now that you've taught me certain expressions in New Zealand that I didn't even know, I can even take this to New Zealand. I could go home with the expression.
I'm sure
She'll
they'd
be right,
welcome
mate.
All right, Jonathan, listen, I always end up with this question. And it's, if you had the chance to mentor someone or group of people, who would it be and why?
I had the chance to mentor people, and why? It's a very good question. I would mentor people who feel they have an enormous power inside them that hasn't been unleashed, hasn't been unlocked, and who want to open the door to that power and then understand it, clarify it, and then express it in their daily lives. Because life for me is, it's not a journey. That's a metaphor. It's not a destination. It's an experience reflected in how you feel, colored by your perceptions, and rationalize in your mind. And so to answer your question, anyone, be it a family, a person, or a corporate team that wants to bring out the extraordinary in themselves and then express it in their lives, then I'm someone they can turn to. Not as someone who will tell them what to do, but as someone who can accompany them, guide them, and help them get to where they want to go, help them climb those steps to what success, what happiness, what fulfillment looks like to them. So I'm like a handrail to walking up those steps. And why? Because I think that power inside each of us needs to come out. The world needs positive power coming out from people. There's a lot of instability. There's some not great things happening. I don't want to go into any comments on politics. So there's a lot of things happening I don't understand anymore. And we need positive, empowered, value-based people to make sure that we remain, a caring, loving society going forward.
Well, that's a great answer. Really appreciate that. Now, to finish up, we're going to offer people a chance to reach out to you. You gave me your website address, which was www.myphi.com, and we spell that as MYPHY, myphi.com. Yep. And what can they find if they go up there now? You've got a test that they can take. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got a test called the Happiness Gap Test, which is free. They just click on and take the Happiness Gap Test to see how big their happiness gap is. 20 questions, very simple, covering different parts of one's life, which I've created myself. So that's one thing they can see. And funny you ask, I'm relaunching the website in a couple of weeks because there's so many success stories that I've now received of people around the world saying what effect MyPhi has had on them, that people can read the stories of other people. And I've got multiple videos and articles and all kinds of things which hopefully give people ideas and value and where it's a fun place to come and join the MyPhi tribe and community. Because that's what we are. We're a group of people from the shareholders to the employees to me, the people doing it. There's no ego here. It's all about better lives, better environments, better world, and doing it together. There's nothing more fun than that, in my opinion, and a lot of people share that view. And there we go. So come and have a look, and join the journey. Come and have fun.
Brilliant. And we'll put that link up on the show notes together with your other social media channels, which you gave me. And listen, Jonathan, I really want to end by just saying thanks. Thanks so much for being on the show. I want to recognize what you do and thank you on behalf of all the people that you help as well. I think it's fantastic. And just promise me we'll do this again sometime in the future. We'll catch up.
Whenever you want. It's been an absolute pleasure. And can I say that I think your podcast is amazing? I think that it gives so much value to people who are making the transition or thinking about transition into entrepreneurship, especially when you're far away from home, where you don't have all that, that network support or family and things like that, which makes it more challenging. So you are providing, we're all doing the same thing. Well, you and I certainly doing it in different ways. And that's why I totally congratulate you, and I love it, and carry on doing it, because I'm loving it, and I'm sure many other listeners are loving it too.
Is this where I say sweet as at the end? I say sweet as?
Sweet as, mate.
Sweet as. Thanks, Jonathan. Fantastic. All right. We'll talk again very soon. All the best.
Take care. She'll be right, mate. Take care.